Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Cameron Sunda. I'm an artist working at the intersection of performance art, video art, and public art, and I'm so grateful to be able to share with you today about my series of works called 36.5, A Durational Performance with the Sea. I was just in Aotearoa, New Zealand, when COVID-19 hit, and so I'm going to give you a very quick overview of the project and then discuss this current suspension in time and space due to the fact that we had to postpone the work because of COVID-19. And the questions I'm really thinking about right now, the big overall question for the project is how do we translate this seemingly abstract idea of climate change and sea level rise into our bodies, translate it into the scale of our bodies to understand in a different way. And then more specifically right now, I'm really thinking about how can we learn from indigenous wisdom, from the water, the trees, the other species, and the ancestors who came before us in a way that might help us sustain ourselves for a better future. Here is, so quick overview of the project. Here we go. This is from the first work in the series that took place in Maine. The project came out of Hurricane Sandy hitting New York City when I realized that everything was temporary. I kept on imagining a little artist running around New York City trying to make ends meet, and the city's just sinking beneath her feet. And then I was in Maine and realized that the tides could function as a metaphor for sea level rise. So I decided to stand in the water for a full tidal cycle as the water rose from my feet all the way up to my neck and then back down again. And from there, the project grew because it was a really intense, important moment. I realized the connections between the waters all over the planet in an embodied way, more than an intellectual way, and decided that I needed to investigate this in many different locations and work with people around the world to understand what challenges we are facing right now. So next, I went to Mexico as a sort of research version. This is in 2014. And I went to my home body of water, San Francisco Bay, to develop the concept. And this is where I also built out this thing called the human clock, where the public can participate in marking the passing of the hours from the shore in performance interventions, as well as they're being invited to stand with me in the water. And then the project launched on a global scale in the Netherlands in 2015. Here's a bunch of water officials and government people standing with me for an hour. As the tide rose on our bodies. And then this is Bangladesh, where music became a really important part of the work. There's so many stories to tell, but I'll save those for another moment. This is in Brazil in 2019, and here's a nighttime shot from that same work where, I worked with a group called Prata Shihula, Black Poets of the Street, to build the performance interventions, marking the passing of the hours. And really this one became about that parallel between the struggle to survive on a daily basis and the struggle for humanity to survive in the face of sea level rise. And that was the big thing that came out of that one. The work in Kenya, Bodo Inlet, was the most recent completed work in the series. I was working in this little village, but we had the most robust participation ever. So many people came out to stand in the water with me, and then also to sing and dance. And there was a ceremonial drum and town crier who announced the work. And I think the impact from that series, that work is continuing today. I'm in touch with a lot of people over there. Here's the big map that shows the red dots are for where I've been. The blue dots are the two that I've left in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and New York City. We were so close with Aotearoa, but then stopped by COVID. this is that main shot again, which is also behind me. Uh, this is the title of the work there, 36.5 Te Manukan Katanga o Hotura, Tamaki Makaro, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Using the Maori name for the body of water feels really important. The English name is Manukau Harbor, but using the Maori name in the title feels incredibly important. Linguistics are so important over there, and in terms of recognizing and honoring the people who have stewarded this water and this land for so long. Over there, it was the first time I actually was able to show the video work formally, while also building the project from the ground up. So the video work is durational video. I filmed the entire performance in real time from multiple perspectives with a big film crew, and then turn that into a durational video work that's the same length as the performance. And my goal is to really immerse people in the work and give them an experience that feels where they can imagine the water rising on their body as well. In this gallery, it was great because we had a big board that people could write their ideas on about where I should stand. And I was taking those and with me as I was doing the work and location scouting. And then there was a big window that overlooked, so you could watch the video on one side and then you could overlook the harbor and the water on the other side and stand on the edge and face the sea, which I always try to invite people to do anyway. This is me with the local cinematographer, Ian, trying to suss out, we went all over the Manukau Harbor and looked at many different possible locations. This is Matua Jeff Tahua, who is Jeff Takua, who is an elder in local iwi there, and he gave the first karakia that allowed me to officially begin the project. And it was the first time with him was the first time I fully submerged my body in the water as a way of testing everything out. This is that moment he sang the whole time I was out there. It was only about 20 minutes, but it was pretty profound. And then on the right, you're seeing the same spot at low tide. I don't know if this is showing, but I'm gonna move me so that you can see that it's the same time or same place, just a different moment in time. Later in the day, 6 hours later. This is me with Jeremy. One of the things that I find so profound and exciting in collaborating with the Maori people is that they can really track their lineage back 1,000 years to which canoe they arrived on. So Jeremy here was telling me the story of how his ancestors had carried the canoe across from the skinniest part of Auckland, from the east side to the west side, and then made their way down the water. And we were pointing it out both in person and on the map. And one of the Maori men I met early on said, you know, you really need a woman to guide you. And I was really lucky to meet Nettie and Amiria, who then became my guides in everything about making this project happen. Here, Amiria is leading a karakia in this space called Amburi Regional Park, where the black lava rocks are really completely embodied time. They're from this ancient volcano, and the birds fly 11,000 miles nonstop between here, this exact spot, and Alaska, which I find so moving as a way of just really embodying and thinking about the passage of time. Here's a map to the entrance of, or this is a zooming in of the map at the entrance of the harbor, which is actually ultimately where I chose as the location for the project. This is it, Kaitarakihi. On one side you see, on the right side you're seeing the bush, the unencumbered rainforest, so much life and greenery. On the left, you're seeing more of a remnant of colonialism, where the area has been clear cut and there are sheep and farming. It's still a beautiful place, and there's the iwi, local iwi still feel very connected to the land, including Amiria, and what that land is. But it, from a visual perspective, it represents the trauma of colonialism, which I find really interesting in terms of the visuals. This is Nettie playing the conch. She is an expert in Kapahaka, and the plan is ultimately, when we come back, is that they will she will lead the performance interventions from the shore to mark passing of hours. She's got really powerful lungs. I find it so beautiful. This is Amirga. When we first arrived in Kaitarakihi, we had to introduce ourselves to the ancestors. And there was this little cave that was amazing. And so Amirga did a karakia and then instructed me on how we needed to do this, which was that we went around the cave and with the oil on our hands, touched the edges of the cave to introduce ourselves so that our hands would leave a mark there and they would know who we were. And she said that if the ancestors did not want us to be there or did not want to protect us on the journey here, we would know. There would have been a sign very quickly. And but luckily we didn't get that sign. It was so we believed that we were accepted. They were happy we were there and doing the work, making the work there. This is the group on the last day before, when we were still working, thinking we could adjust to COVID, and just have some more social distancing, standing there contemplating the space together. And again, here's that promo shot. So as I'm back in New York now, I'm really thinking about, okay, what are the things that I can research and how to frame the project in this time of COVID, and how to also build out the story of the project, the complexity of the work. This is from my sort of daily debrief. I'm playing around with text and how to maybe tell the story more through writing. This is the image from the Manukau report in 1985. There were a bunch of people who said, hey, the Maori people who said, hey, you're not honoring to the Pakeha, you're not honoring what we said in our treaties, and you're taking away all of our land. So I'm going in depth in there and really reading as much as I can to understand, from the US perspective, it seems like New Zealand is so, and they are very aware of their environment and aware of art, but then you learn that the history has been really, really traumatic, and only now in 2020 are people really acknowledging the major issues that have played out. So I'm hoping to learn more about that, and then also working with the map and writing perhaps little stories, little tidbits, anecdotes there from the people, the things that I learned from people. I'm also so touched by the Polynesian seafaring and just how did these canoes get there? How do they navigate with just the stars? The wisdom and the knowledge is just incredible. So long ago, it's just, I am really excited about learning more about that. And I'm learning to say my own pepeha, which is the introduction that is traditional in the Maori setting, or in Aotearoa overall, really, which is, and I really think that we should adopt this in the US, which is you introduce yourself by naming your mountain, and then naming your water, and then the canoe you arrived on. We don't have that, maybe, but maybe some of us do, and the area we live in, and the family name, and then your first name. So really starting with your site, with the place where you are from, and how you identify yourself through your environment. I think it's just, it puts the priorities in perspective, and I really think we should do that. So I'm working on how to write mine in Maori, and and hopefully bring some of this thinking into New York. So here is just the summary of the takeaways, and the way that I'm trying to bring some of this little tiny tip of the iceberg bit of knowledge that I've learned, but try to pull it into the project in New York as a way of recognizing it and honoring it. This question of language, linguistics, how to use the native language as much as possible, how to be specific about sight and honoring the place where we are, where we come from, how watching, listening, honoring the family lines and the mountain as part of the family, the water as your relative. And then asking permission of the land and the water and the people. I wonder, if every time we dug a hole anywhere, if we asked permission from the land, would that change the mentality of the people? And would we be more aware of the ways that we're messing up the environment? I really want to pull that into the New York work. And then this value of collective over the individual, how everything we do is about the collective and not about an individual success. That feels like, in this country of where individualism is really valued, how do we rejigger our thinking and value the collective and the community? Of course, it's happening in many small places, but I'm trying to figure out how to, and I think just we all need to be thinking about that more. Acknowledging that there's always going to be some politics. There were some iwi politics that I encountered that I was surprised by, but of course, anywhere you go as an outsider, especially, you're going to come into contact with politics that you can't do anything about. And then the value of katahaka, these ancient forms of storytelling and song and dance, and how but pulling that into the contemporary and the everyday and letting it be part of the work feels really important. So I think my time is up, but this is just, I'll leave you with a shot of the test shot from Socrates Sculpture Park, Hallett's Cove in New York City, which is where the project is supposed to happen on September 5th. We'll see, it's probably going to get postponed till 2021 now as well, but now I have a year to research and examine all these things more in depth, which I will relish. Living in this unknown space is actually okay for me as an artist, and I'm excited to go deeper into all these collaborations and all this thinking. I would welcome any feedback or thoughts anyone might have. Here is the website, the social media handle for the project, and my email address. Please feel free to contact me anytime. I really look forward to the discussions that we'll be having as part of this conference virtually, and hopefully meeting you all in person someday soon. Thanks again for having me. Take care.